Okay, so the 53rd sutra now. Prakarantara sambhavat sadutpattihi. So now he says that, um, 1 second please. Prakarantara asambhavat sadutpattihi. That this whole world, which is being called Sat here, uh, which is this creation, it is not possible by any other means. If you can give some other means by which this world could exist, could come into existence and follow these rules of laws of nature, and not disappear in the flash of an eyelid, if that could be explained by some other means, this delusion and all, they do not hold water when you consider uh, these issues. So therefore there is no other explanation, a logical explanation, which can be given for the existence of this fantastic design, which works like clockwork. Okay, so if you notice in this chapter, Kapil is kind of challenging his opponents, and he's saying that, tell me some other way by which this whole thing can be explained. So every time he is coming to the same argument which he had not given earlier, and he's saying again and again that, tell me some other way by which you can prove it otherwise. If you have some positive proof, then we shall discuss. But what you are saying by itself is illogical and does not hold water. Okay, so now we move into the another section, and Kapila now makes an assertion which is of great importance, and he had indicated it through his statements earlier, in which he said Chidavasana Bhogaha. That means that Bhoga was stopping before it reached the soul, it was stopping at the buddhi. So now he tells us something very categorical. Ahankaraha karta na purushaha. He says that the karta is ahankar. Ahankar, that part of matter which creates this connection between the soul and the body, and makes the soul feel that it is the body, is actually the doer, not the soul. Okay, this is a very huge statement, and it is very difficult to accept. Even the commentators in the book, they are not able to accept it. Basically your book is written by an Arya Samaji, so uh, he follows things till a certain point, but because Swami Dayanand did not say that the karta is not the soul, because again going by that same common man logic, in his book he went up to a certain point, but he didn't want to confuse people beyond that point. But Kapila, of course, has to tell us right down to the very proton, neutron, electron level what it is. So he tells us that actually the soul is not the karta at a broad level. Yes, sure, the karta is the soul. So when you hear a normal theory of karma, it will say the doer is the soul and the action is done by that soul, and therefore the consequences of that action revert to the soul. But see, all the actions which generate a phala are all worldly actions with worldly consequences, done for worldly goals. Because this is all world related, it is actually determined by your ahankar. For example, my standard example of a jalebi, because you want to eat jalebi today, you take the effort of going to the jalebi shop and purchasing jalebi. So the action was performed under the supervision of the soul. But the soul is not receiving the taste of the jalebi per se. It is performing all those actions for the body which is determined, which because of ahankar we feel it is me. So because the body sent pleasure signals on eating the jalebi, so therefore now I feel that I should go and eat some more jalebi. So for myself, left to myself, I actually would not do it. It is just because of ahankar that we perform all those actions. So in the ultimate analysis, even though the encouragement was by the soul to get up and go to the jalebi shop, the actual person who is encouraging you to do this is ahankar. Is that clear to you? If it is not, please raise your hand now, because we should discuss it. This is a very, very critical point.
Yeah.
And
It actually makes sense. It makes sense to me.
it does, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
because if you think deeply about it, you are actually not doing it. Let me give you again, remind you of that example of robot and battery. So now, if the battery has intelligence also built into it, it might think that I push the robot to do this, but actually, it is doing for the robot only. There is nothing which the robot can do which will make any difference to the battery. Okay, so that is why the actual karta of all our actions is the is ahankar. Only when we do things like study this sankhya, or we sit in meditation, those are actually vegetable soup for your soul. Not chicken soup, I will not say, but vegetable soup for your soul. So that is what you are doing for yourself. That is why you will see that there is no consequence of attaining jnana. All the activities which you perform to attain knowledge, they have no consequence. It is not as if you will get some punya out of it. However, it is actually what you are feeding your own soul. Those are the only activities.
So there are certain things that, where you have to decide that this is the wrong thing to do and this is the right thing to do. So even in that case, the soul does not have any, it does not give any guidance or anything. Is that an entirely buddhi function?
No, dharma, yes, to that extent, actually, dharma is residing in your buddhi only. That little bit of ethics, that small little voice, as it is called, of conscience, that is placed in your buddhi by God. And if you think of dharma, any dharma, for example, let us say duties, okay? So you have a child. Firstly, you feel a relationship with the child because it is born out of your body. Now if you negate your association with your body, and if you say that okay, this is just I'm just passing through, this is a station through which I am passing, then when you really look at it that way, you will realize that actually that is an independent soul, and you have just been a nimitta karan for its arrival in this world along with its body. Okay, to that extent you are associated, but again through the world. Actually, soul to soul, you are not necessarily actually connected to that other entity. So now when you say you have a duty towards your child, it is also a worldly duty, that you must feed the child, you must educate the child. All those are worldly duties which you are performing because of your association with the body of this soul. Okay, so that is how you will see even paropakar, why it is not being told by Patanjali, for example, in his Yama Niyama, is because that upakar which you are doing, unless it is vidya dana, all other dana is for the body of that other being for whom you are doing good, whether it is an animal or whether it is a human being. Those are all things which you are doing for the other person's body. So again, please don't misunderstand, this doesn't mean that you should not do it, because till the time you are a worldly person, you do have these duties, you should do paropkar. There is no this thing about it at all, no doubt. Now we are talking of a situation where you are now trying to wean yourself away from this world, and we are talking of that situation, that if you really look at these things in their ultimate um, sense, then actually you are only feeding the other person's body, you are feeding your own body. There is nothing which you are doing for the soul. So even the vidya dana actually which you do, it gives you great punya, but the returns almost come back to you immediately, because your own knowledge itself increases. So you see, that is why it is the biggest of all danas. You are feeding the other person's soul actually, particularly when you give the knowledge like Sankhya and Yoga, etc. Okay. Chidavasana bhuktis tat karmarjitatvat. So again he repeats that this bhukti is the same as bhoga, is stops at consciousness. So it does not reach the soul, it stays at the buddhi level, because that is the one which has actually earned the deed, which has done the deed and therefore earned its consequence. Karma arjitatvat. तो कर्म किसने अर्जित किया? Who actually did the karma? Since ahankara did the karma, therefore that only will actually receive the consequence. So when the consequence comes, actually while the soul is lighting up the brain from behind and actually making it feel those pleasure or pain, but it is the body which is feeling the pleasure or the pain. It does not reach the soul. Okay, please, you must absorb this point. This is the main teaching of Sankhya, and people find it very difficult to accept this. But this is what Kapila wants to say. So if you want to learn from Kapila, then this is the thing to be learned. So now there is a very peculiar statement which Kapila makes, which I am not sure that either the commentators or I understand properly. However, I will tell you whatever is the best. This is a mixture of what the commentators have said and a little bit of my own. Chandradiloke apyavrittir nimitta sadbhavat. So he says that even in Chandra and other lokas, the moon and other lokas, there is a return, that is a rebirth, because the nimitta exists. So what is the nimitta for birth?
Aviveka.
Karma phala.
Aviveka. Aviveka. So this aviveka, till the time you remove, there will be avriti. Now this Chandra Adi Loka, this is most interesting, and there is this theory that on Chandra it is either Chandra as a lok, in which case I don't know what it means, or all the lokas in which there is more happiness, or swarga. Okay, so by this Chandradi lok is all the lokas in which there is more happiness compared to sadness. Maybe there is only pure happiness which is there, and you actually don't feel any sorrow at all. So even in those lokas, as long as there is a viveka, there will be a rebirth. There will continue to be a rebirth. Only when you have acquired viveka can you cut this cycle of birth and death. That will continue to be. So basically what Kapila is trying to say over here, that there are some beliefs that if you do a lot of paropkar and you acquire a state in which you hardly have any sorrows, then that is actually that is it. You have reached attained swarga, and there is no more nothing more for you to do beyond that. So he is contradicting that and saying that that is good, but birth will continue from there too.
Uttara, this is given in Prashnopanishad. This is what I was talking to you the other day about.
What does it say?
It says the same thing, like, when you have when you do things which are like punya karma, what we usually call, even the yajna yaga adi karmas or whatever, you go to the Chandra lokas, and when you become the muktatma, you go to the Surya loka, or what Suryayanam Chandrayanam is what he says.
Correct.
And that means whoever has gone to the Chandra loka comes back to again, when you are that punya phalam or whatever is done with, and when the account is balanced, again you come back onto the earth. And if you are a realized soul, you are into that Uttarayanam or the Suryayanam. Probably Uttarayanam means you go upwards, which is to towards the mukta.
Correct. So now that you have raised the issue, I will tell you my theory on this, which also applies to this sutra. So again, you have to consider that truck of salt out there. That this Chandraloka, the unique feature of the moon is that one side is always facing the sun and the other side is always in darkness. So this again, there is this association of light with knowledge and happiness. So now when you go to Chandraloka, probably there are beings there who exist without a body, without this gross body, that is. The Sukshma Sharira is definitely there. That is how you do your Upabhoga. But the gross body is not there. And because of that, when we go to the moon, we don't see anything over there. And the situation is not conducive for any life there, because there's no water, no nothing. But all these water and all are required for a gross body. The Sukshma Sharira does not require, and yet it is the one actually, because it includes this Ahankara and Buddhi, etc., that is actually experiencing. So in that state, all you experience is happiness and bliss, and it is not possible for you to experience sorrow. That is my theory. However, I did not want to bring it in here because I am not somehow my theories are actually based on Upanishads, like what Prashanti quoted, but I have forgotten the source. It's just that the essence has got in some way. So this is anyway, take it Chandraadi Loka as the lokas, the habitations in which there is only or mostly happiness and hardly any sorrow is there. So Kapila is saying that is not the end point. It will lead to birth. So that is another thing actually that is said, that even if you go to these lokas, it will actually you will return to Prithvi Loka, which is called Martya Loka, which has both sorrow and happiness in it. So that is why this avriti is more something not desirable, little undesirable. Lokasya nopadeshat siddhi purvavat. So he's just corroborating his earlier statement. He says because which lok requires viveka has not been specified. That means it does not say that only on Prithvi lok you have to gain a vivek and then only you will attain moksha, but independent of lok, anywhere where you are with you are associated, linked with matter, you have some kind of a body, then you have to gain vivek in order to be rid of your association with matter. Yeah, and the siddhi for these Chandradi Loka, the proof of how it is applicable over there is just as we proved it for Prithvi Lok, which we are residing on right now. In the same way, the same arguments apply for the other lokas, that as long as you ahankar is there, ahankar will push you to be a karta, and you will continue to gain a consequence of that. So you will have to take birth in order to um, bear those consequences.
Just a question here.
Mm-hmm.
So I am just assuming whether there is another loka that exists as the Chandra loka or not. Until you, I mean, if you are connected to the matter, I am assuming you will be on the Amartya loka only, is what I am understanding. If you are connected to matter,
no, see, actually, when you die in a normal death, then this Sukshma Sharira does not die. So the death is only of the gross body. So actually, if you do not attain moksha in between, from the beginning of the universe to the end of the universe, you will be connected with only one Sukshma Sharira, which means that the Sukshma Sharira does not undergo death at all. So that is why.
But I mean, will you be able to act upon with the Sukshma Sharira? You don't need the Panchabhutas to act up.
So I cannot answer your question with too much distinct confirmation, but as far as I can make out, some activity is possible, or some maybe just the experience of light is can exhilarate you. You can continue to gain knowledge in some way. Maybe you can experience God in some way. So the bhoga is not of the type that we experience with our bodies, but there is some nature of bhoga which is there, and that is what makes us blissful in that kind of situation. Now what exactly is that bhoga is I can only conjecture, and I am not at all.
Yeah, we all can only assume things, that I understand. My only this thing was like, yeah, of course, if you are there means there is some experience that you are going through, means definitely some activity is happening. If there is an experience means there is some activity happening, right?
Yeah, maybe I mean it's not a direct activity. Maybe it's just the bliss of God and the bliss of light which is there. I feel that actually souls interact also in that situation. So maybe they are the devatas, so they talk to each other, exchange notes, tips. But in general, the main thing which is not there is the sorrow because of the body. Because the body, as we saw, the sorrow in our lives is much greater than happiness. Over there, because you don't have this gross body, the happiness will far exceed the sorrow, if there is any sorrow at all.
So for people who are not eligible to go to the Chandraloka, then directly Tiryakyoni Janmas only, or
so that is where actually your pap and punya comes into play. So if you have done a lot of punya and you have performed yajnas, etc., as you were saying, then you can hope to go to this Swarga Loka. But if you have done the opposite, and you have been very adharmic, in that case, you are very likely to move into Tiryakyunis.
Right. I mean, then there is no gap, right? Immediately you come back into the Tiryakyunis.
Yes. So this is why, if you remember, I had told you sometime long back that if you do a lot of punya, then there will be a small gap between your birth, your next birth, and that birth, in that interim, you will enjoy bliss. Okay. So these are all the linkages which link up over here. However, again, you must take it with a pinch of salt, because these are linkages which I am creating. It is they all seem to link up, but there may be a gap somewhere. Okay, so I think we are out of time. So if there's any question, we can take it up. We have another 9 minutes. Otherwise, we will close the session. Okay.
Yeah, I was just working backwards in my mind, like, how once you connect with Prakriti, then the first thing comes is Ahankar. So here he says, because of that is what, you are acting here rather, whatever the karma that you are doing, or
Yes.
the bhoga that's happening is because of that. Then
Correct.
I am thinking of these sukshma shariras, whatever. So when that is the next realm, and then comes the contact of Panchabhutas. So again, probably our journey is backwards again. Let go of whatever the vasanas with the sukshma sharira, and let go of the vasana with ahamkara, and then your mukti kind of comes into picture.
Another
Just kind of working
conclusion here
backwards.
is taking your point forward is that uh, when I keep telling you that it is impossible to do nishkam karma till you have gained viveka, the reason is this only. See, ahankaraha karta, till the time that you have not cut off with ahankara, which happens only when you have attained viveka khyati, till that time you will be a doer, because you are linked to this world, and even if you feel you are doing paropakara, actually you are working with this world on this world. So nishkama karma, here there also you have a karma for doing good to somebody. Even that is a karma. That anything, any desire which is worldly is a worldly desire, it is a karma. And those desires which are not linked to the satiation of this body or some other person's body are the ones which are actually not classified as karma. That is why I tell you that acquiring knowledge is not considered as a karma. Working towards mukti is not considered as a desire in the desire sense, in the karma sense. So you cannot perform any nishkama karma. All these Gita and all which are quoted and saying do nishkama karma, do niswartha karma. No karma which you do without viveka can ever be nishkama. Be clear on that. There will be, even the paropkar you do will lead to a return of happiness to you. So, which means it is not nishkama. You are getting punya out of it. So, whether punya or pap, there will be a consequence of the deeds which you do. It's only when you break this association with ahankar, then you realize actually you are not doing anything. There is nothing to be done. You have been brought here to attain viveka only. And there is all these things which we keep working on all the time for fame and for happiness and for whatever power. All these are actually transient. Everything is ephemeral. And that is why the spiritual goal of viveka, which gives us what is called as infinite release, but actually which is finite, but it is so long that it is incomparable to any worldly pleasure, etc. So let us say, I have got my notification. let us say our prayer before we are kicked out. Okay. Om Abhayam Mitra, Abhayam Mitra, Abhayam Jnata, Abhayam Guroya, Abhayam Nattam, Abhayam Diva, Sarvasha Mitram Bhavantu. Om
Shanti.
Okay, see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Yeah, so next week I will request Shanti Aunty to join us. Next week. I think you've spoken to her, no? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell her.